My CEO parents chose their fake son over me. The day my CEO parents declared bankruptcy, my adopted brother was also diagnosed with leukemia. To earn money for his treatment, I worked delivery runs even on New Year's Eve, trudging through snow and ice. When I delivered the order to a wealthy customer, he suddenly knocked the cake from my hands. What kind of delivery service is this? Don't you know this cake cost Mr. Sterling $100,000, specially ordered for Phoenix? I was about to protest when three achingly familiar voices drifted from the warm mansion. It's fine, I know Mom and Dad care about me. It was my adopted brother. My supposedly bankrupt father's voice boomed with extravagance. Phoenix is so understanding. Dad's buying you a private island as a reward. My always frugal mother chimed in sweetly. My only precious boy is so mature. I'm giving you my golf resort in Monaco, don't be upset anymore. As the cake splattered at my feet, my phone chimed with a 1-star review notification. Later, I cut all ties and left with my mentor. But when they discovered my plans, they went insane, literally falling to their knees, begging me not to leave. Chapter 1. My adopted brother Phoenix Sterling was diagnosed with leukemia. When I found out, I just sold all the luxury items my parents had given me over the past 2 years, plus my unpublished patents, to help pay off my father's bankruptcy debts. Then I worked myself to the bone earning money for Phoenix's treatment. By the time he recovered, our family was still hundreds of thousands in debt. Every night after my shift as a rideshare driver, I'd come home and prepare meals for all 4 of us for the next day before finally washing up and sleeping. At 5 a.m. sharp, I'd arrive at the subway station to sell breakfast. Then I'd spend my days running deliveries until midnight. Tonight was New Year's Eve, and I received a delivery request specifically asking for me by name. I figured it was a customer satisfied with my previous service. So even battling freezing winds to deliver the order, my heart felt warm. Plus, since this was a designated request, the commission would be much higher than usual. While waiting at a red light, I even pulled out my phone to share the good news in our family group chat. After this delivery, we can finally pay off the last of our debt. Didn't Phoenix mention wanting sashimi? Once we clear these debts, we can all go together. As always, my message sank like a stone. But I understood Dad, Mom, and Phoenix were all busy working to pay off debts too, so they didn't have time to respond. Plus, every night when I came home late, there was always leftover food they'd kept warm for me. Even though treating Phoenix's illness had left us drowning in debt, I'd never felt even a hint of resentment. The bitter wind cut into my face during delivery, but I didn't slow down to rest. I was terrified of being late and getting a bad review, costing me this big order. I finally reached the upscale neighborhood, only to be told motorcycles weren't allowed inside. By the time I reached the delivery address, I felt frozen solid, ignoring the painful, festering frostbite on my hands. I rang the doorbell. I tried to steady my breathing. A young man about my age answered, clearly from a wealthy family. His expensive cashmere sweater and the confetti in his hair spoke of the warmth and celebration inside. He stood in the doorway looking down at me with crossed arms. After glancing at my heavy, outdated winter coat, he sneered with contempt. Peasant. Who said you could loiter at my door? Life had long since ground away anything resembling pride in me. Hearing this, I just smiled and opened my delivery bag. Here's your cake order. Please check that it wasn't damaged during transport. After a glance, he wordlessly snatched the bag from my hands and began shaking it. Before I could react, he smashed the cake at my feet. What kind of delivery service is this? Don't you know this cake cost Mr. Sterling $100,000, specially ordered for Phoenix? I was about to protest. But then 3 achingly familiar voices drifted from the warm mansion. It's fine, Cameron. The delivery person was probably just careless. I know Mom and Dad care about me. It was my adopted brother Phoenix Sterling. My breathing stopped, my heart nearly seizing. But as my heart burned with betrayal, the next voice plunged me into an icy abyss. My supposedly bankrupt father's voice boomed with extravagance. Phoenix is so understanding. Just a cake, Dad's ordering you 10 more cakes plus a private island as a reward. My always frugal mother chimed in sweetly. My only precious boy is so mature. I bought you that watch you wanted, and I'm giving you my Monaco golf resort too, my little prince. Don't be upset anymore. Chapter 2. The warm air flowing from inside should have been comforting, but my heart turned to ice. My phone chimed with a 1-star review notification. Cameron hadn't left yet. He looked at me mockingly. You know why your parents lied about bankruptcy and Phoenix having leukemia? It's because Phoenix casually mentioned that you didn't seem to like him, so your parents staged this whole charade to test you. Pathetic how you've been running around like a loyal dog, working yourself to death to pay fake debts. Seeing my silence, his laughter grew more maniacal. Unwanted trash. When your parents took you back into the Sterling family, they also adopted Phoenix. You should have known then that you meant nothing. Rage and hurt destroyed my rationality. Faced with his relentless provocation, I finally couldn't help but raise my fist. But I was met with the heavy sound of a slamming door. I couldn't just leave in such humiliation. I stood at the door knocking desperately, trying to get my parents' attention. But the celebration inside had resumed, and not only did I fail to reach my parents, I attracted security instead. My parents are inside. I need to see them. The burly security guards looked me up and down with disdain. This is an exclusive neighborhood. The cheapest house here costs 8 figures. You probably don't even have 3 digits to your name. Take your dreams home with you. Don't freeze to death here and cause us trouble. With that, they all burst into laughter. Security approached with tasers. Be smart and get lost. The people inside aren't ones you or I can afford to anger. I tried to resist, but they tossed me unconscious and dragged me to my motorcycle outside the gates. When I woke up, the blood in my veins had nearly frozen. Half my face was caked with cream that had hardened like concrete, adding to my pathetic state. I lay on the ground as sharp snowflakes fell on my face, melting and mixing with my tears. My phone rang with a familiar ringtone I'd set especially for my parents so I'd never miss their calls even when busy. Mom's voice was anxious. Ethan, why are you so late getting home tonight? I was worried something happened to you. It's all our fault for being useless, making you work on New Year's Eve. We're so sorry. My throat ached as I swallowed back bitterness. I wanted to ask why they were treating me this way, but opening my mouth only produced a sob. Dad's cough came through the phone. Good boy, it's Dad's fault for being useless. Phoenix and I have been such a burden to you. Before, I would have immediately protested, telling them I had no regrets. But now, I didn't want to drain myself emotionally for them anymore. Hearing my continued silence, Dad thought I was just tired. Ethan, it's New Year's Eve, don't push yourself too hard. Come home and rest. Mom quickly added. Right, we went out for a nice dinner tonight and brought back lots of leftovers for you. And tomorrow's your birthday, we'll have a special surprise prepared. I forced down my sobs and managed to croak out, okay. The snow fell heavier, but instead of rushing home, I went to a 24-hour print shop and printed out disownment papers. Surprises should go both ways. Since they loved Phoenix Sterling so much, perhaps my departure would be the real surprise. Chapter 3. I got home after 4 a.m. Looking at the congealed leftovers in plastic containers on the table and the dark, empty house with no one waiting for me, I quietly wished myself happy birthday. Today was my 24th birthday. But yesterday I'd learned the cruel truth that my parents had lavished all their money and love on a fake adopted son who'd stolen my childhood years with them. I shivered through a shower, then crawled under thick but non-warming blankets. I used to think we didn't pay for heat to save money, so we could pay off debts faster. Phoenix always got sick in winter, with Mom and Dad constantly at the hospital with him. I thought it was because his post-leukemia body was weak and needed constant care. Only now did I understand they feared the cold, so they used Phoenix as an excuse to hide away in their mansion while enjoying luxury. I covered my eyes with my arm and suddenly laughed. How ridiculous that I'd once planned to buy them a house with heating once we cleared the debts. Now I realized how presumptuous that was. The house where they held their party was in the city's most exclusive neighborhood. I couldn't even afford the property taxes, let alone buy them a house. Daylight filtered through the grimy window onto my face. Footsteps started outside my door. I grabbed my phone. 8 a.m. This was the latest I'd slept since Dad's bankruptcy. The bedding was too cold, I got up shivering. But before leaving my room, I changed my phone wallpaper from "I'd give everything for Dad, Mom, and Phoenix to be healthy" to something else. When Mom saw me emerge, she looked surprised. Why so late today? Did something happen? Are you sick? How serious is it? Their urgent concern filled my ears, but my heart felt no warmth. I couldn't tell if their worry for me was genuine or just an act to make me believe they loved me. Ethan? Ethan, why won't you answer? Faced with their repeated calls, I shook my head. Nothing. Just tired. After a moment, Dad spoke again, his voice full of regret. It's my fault for being useless, burdening you. Don't push yourself so hard, we worry about you. Mom quickly agreed. Yes, today's New Year's Day and your birthday. You always wanted us to go out to eat together, right? Let's do that today. Plus we got you a cake. Their cheerful tone couldn't infect me, but I nodded anyway. I wanted to see how far they'd go with this act, and how convincing they could be. I changed clothes and followed them to an upscale downtown mall. Funny thing was, though I'd been brought back to the Sterling family at 16, I'd never been to places like this before. Before Dad's bankruptcy, I'd focused only on studying, and my parents never thought to show me the world. After the bankruptcy, I couldn't afford such places. So this mall that Phoenix had grown up treating as his backyard, this was actually my first time inside. Mom and Dad went ahead to order, asking me to wait outside for Phoenix, who was supposedly hospitalized. A supercar stopped in front of me. Phoenix removed his sunglasses and smiled smugly. Nice car. Mom and Dad's New Year gift to me. He tossed a cake from the passenger seat at me. Your birthday gift. Dad gave me 10 cakes and I can't finish them all. I specifically told the staff not to throw this one away this morning, saved it for you. He rolled up his window, preparing to leave. Go inside. Don't keep Mom and Dad waiting. Even though you don't deserve to eat Mom's homemade feast like I do on my birthday, getting food that Mom and Dad ordered isn't too bad. Before entering the restaurant, I left the cake on a trash can by the door. A server led me to a private room where Mom and Dad stood holding a cake, their eyes bright with anticipation. They hoped to see surprise on my face. After all, this was the first birthday they'd celebrated with me in 24 years. Ethan, happy birthday. Make a wish and blow out the candles. I focused on the restaurant logo on the cake. Mom followed my gaze and looked embarrassed. It was decided last minute, didn't have time to prepare. But Mom and Dad wanted to give you a proper birthday, so we had to use the restaurant's complimentary cake. Don't be disappointed, we'll definitely prepare in advance next year. Will you? Mom and Dad nodded quickly. Thinking of Phoenix's $100,000 birthday cake that he was sick of eating, then looking at the free dessert in front of me, I couldn't help but find it amusing. Remembering Phoenix's words, I looked at Mom and spoke slowly. I want to eat your homemade cooking. Anything at all. Mom froze. She obviously hadn't expected me, who'd always been so understanding, to make such a request. Even after the bankruptcy, I'd never let her set foot in the kitchen. Even washing dishes, he'd leave them on the table for me to clean when I got home late each night. She avoided my eyes. Ethan, you know Mom can't cook. Choose something else. Mom will definitely fulfill any other request. Then since the family debts are paid off, let me go back to school for my PhD. At this, Mom and Dad fell silent. They exchanged glances, and Dad sighed heavily. Ethan, you know our situation. We just paid off the debts but have no savings. If you go to school, you can't earn money, and we'd have to support you. Mom quickly chimed in. Ethan, Mom knows you're the most obedient. Phoenix isn't. As gifted academically. If you pursue a PhD, he might feel bad. Plus, without you at home, who knows when we'll be able to afford a house. She lowered her head to wipe away non-existent tears. My internal contempt reached its peak. Dad placed some meat in my bowl, changing the subject. Eat more. You've gotten too thin these past 2 years. I gave a self-mocking smile. Eating only one meal a day because I was too busy. Of course I'd gotten thin. Chapter 4. An urgent ringtone shattered the awkward atmosphere in the private room. When Mom saw the caller ID, guilt flashed in her eyes. She quickly turned her phone face down. These spam calls are so annoying. But the moment one call ended, another began. She laughed awkwardly and stepped outside to take the call. Half a minute later, she returned pale-faced, pulling Dad toward the exit. The manager suddenly called us back to work. Ethan, take your time eating. We have to go. I feigned concern. Mom, let me come with you. I can help if there's an issue. Mom quickly waved her hands. No need, no need. You work so hard with deliveries, just rest today. This is the first birthday you've celebrated with me in 24 years. Do you really have to leave? I couldn't contain the resentment and hurt bubbling up inside me. Turning away, I fought back tears as I asked them. Mom hesitated briefly. Well, maybe we could stay to eat cake with you first. But before she could finish, her phone rang again. Dad also showed Mom something on his phone. This time Mom didn't hesitate. She frowned, irritation clear in her voice. You have a birthday every year. You're 24 now, can't you stop being so immature? She pushed me away forcefully. Even when my spine hit the sharp marble table edge, she didn't stop. Wait. I no longer cared about why I meant less to them than Phoenix, and I no longer held any expectations. Meeting Mom's disgusted gaze, I calmly handed over the disownment papers. I've applied for a PhD program. To withdraw, I need to submit an application requiring parental signatures. The private room was dimly lit, and in their rush to find Phoenix, Mom and Dad did exactly what I hoped they signed without reading the white paper. But as I reached for the disownment papers, Mom suddenly grabbed my hand. Ethan, when we have time, we'll throw you a proper birthday party. I nodded and pulled my hand back. Okay, go handle your business. Watching them leave without hesitation, I didn't wait for that ethereal birthday party, nor did I continue dining. After paying the bill, I rushed home to pack. I arranged same-day delivery to send one copy of the signed disownment papers, then got into my mentor's car. Before boarding the plane, my phone started ringing non-stop. The caller ID showed Mom. Too lazy to answer, I set it to silent. Just before boarding, I sent a text. You got your wish. Please don't bother me anymore. After sending the message, I snapped my SIM card in half and threw it in the trash. Ignoring the two figures who'd somehow chased me to the gate, I dragged my luggage toward the plane. Chapter 5. I landed in my destination city at dawn. The moment I got off the plane, my phone started buzzing non-stop. A friend at the hospital sent me a video. Ethan, are the people in this video your parents? After hesitating, I opened the video. The footage was clearly from hospital security cameras. There were 3 people in the hospital room: parents and Phoenix. Though the surveillance video had no audio, I recognized the paper clutched in Mom's hands. It was the disownment papers I'd sent via same-day delivery that afternoon. At the video's start, Mom's hands trembled, her eyes full of disbelief. Tears about to fall. She argued with Dad repeatedly about something. Phoenix suppressed a smile at the corner of his mouth, trying to comfort them. But Mom and Dad kept staring at those disownment papers, not even glancing at him. Phoenix's face looked terrible as he forced a worried expression. He tried to grab Mom's arm, but was startled back several steps when Mom suddenly swept a vase off the bedside table. Phoenix cried inconsolably, wanting Mom and Dad to comfort him like before. But this time they ignored his tears completely, both frantically making phone calls. After seeing some message, they grabbed car keys and rushed out. The video ended there. I could guess the rest. They'd probably gone looking for me, filled with guilt. I thanked my friend for the video and explained that I no longer had any relationship with that family. 3 days after leaving the city, with my mentor and colleagues' care, I spent each day happy and fulfilled. Just as I was about to go to dinner with colleagues after work, my phone rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. Thinking it was probably spam since I'd just gotten this new number, I blocked it without a second thought. But that evening when I got home, my doorbell rang. Having ordered soup to help with a hangover, I opened the door without thinking. Thanks, that was really fast. Seeing my disowned parents standing outside, my smile instantly vanished. I didn't know how they'd found my current address. I only knew I never wanted any relationship with them again. Sensing my intention to close the door, Mom's eyes were bloodshot as she unhesitatingly stuck her hand in the doorframe, risking having her fingers crushed. Her voice was full of confusion and hurt. Ethan, why didn't you answer Mom and Dad's calls? Though my mind was somewhat confused in that moment, it didn't affect my complete rejection of them. So Mom heard me say coldly, "What relationship do we have? Why should I answer your calls? Please leave immediately, or I'll call the police." Hearing, no relationship, Mom seemed struck by lightning, her grip on the doorframe tightening. How can we have no relationship? Ethan, how can you be so heartless? Chapter 6. Hearing this, my first thought was that they hadn't received the disownment papers. But thinking it through, I knew that was impossible. Even if they hadn't received the papers, I'd successfully sent that text message. People clever enough to orchestrate a fake poverty and illness test couldn't possibly misunderstand my meaning. Since I'd made my position clear, why were they still shamelessly showing up here? I was too lazy to communicate with them, so I didn't voice my confusion. I just stared coldly at these two uninvited strangers, suppressing my impatience. If you're unclear, then I'll tell you personally today. I, Ethan Sterling, have signed disownment papers with you. We have no relationship whatsoever from now on. I ignored the sadness and disbelief in their eyes and continued. Do you understand now? If not, I don't mind pulling out the disownment papers for you to photograph and study carefully at home. Mom's tears fell like they cost nothing, and Dad's eyes were also full of sorrow. He looked at me with determination. We don't agree to cutting ties with the family. If you think we've been too focused on Phoenix and neglected you, we apologize. We'll definitely treat you boys fairly from now on. Besides, our deception was for your own good. Ask yourself how much have you learned these past few years? We had to test you to make sure you wouldn't bully Phoenix, so we could confidently hand the company over to you someday. Hearing this, I stared at Dad in amazement. I never imagined someone could be so shameless. As I stood there stunned, my mentor's concerned voice came from across the hall. Ethan, who are you talking to at the door? No. Professor. Please rest. Just a delivery person. I am going downstairs to throw out trash and I'll be right back. As I spoke, I unceremoniously pushed the couple away from the door. After entering the elevator expressionlessly, I said coldly, "Don't disturb my mentor. Say whatever you need to say outside, and say it all at once." 5 minutes later, in a cafe outside the complex, we sat facing each other. Mom had composed herself and spoke first. "You've gotten a bit thinner." Seeing I remained silent, Dad, usually cold and taciturn, spoke with unprecedented warmth and concern. "You should eat more. Not taking care of yourself while young means suffering when you're older." I didn't respond. The server happened to bring menus then. They ordered drinks for all three of us on their own. Dad said, "Ethan, rest tonight and pack tomorrow. Come home with us." I was actually amused by them. Home? Did you forget again that you personally signed the disownment papers? I opened my phone and showed them my employment contract with the mentor's lab. As I expected, once they confirmed I was determined not to return, their faces turned ashen. They hated deception most of all. Whether it was me tricking them into signing disownment papers or making unilateral decisions about working here without consulting them. But I didn't care, because they deceived me first. I crossed my arms and leaned back casually. "Mr. Sterling, I know you and your wife have strong pride, and even though you have no feelings for me, it's hard to accept my quiet departure. In that case, I'll give you the opportunity to cut ties actively. And in the future, if anyone asks, I'll say, you disowned me first. Will that work?" Chapter 7. Time ticked by. But even after the latte had gone cold, I received no response. Not wanting to waste more time with them, I stood to leave. Seeing me get up, Mom's embarrassment turned to barely concealed panic. She grabbed my hand tightly, relenting. "Ethan, don't go yet. Mom and Dad know we've been so focused on Phoenix these years that we neglected you. That's why you want to separate from us. It's okay, we won't blame you. We'll even pay your lab's breach of contract fee. Just come back with us tomorrow, and we promise never to play favorites again. Ethan, Mom really can't live without you." But I wasn't swayed, because what I cared about was never their differential treatment between Phoenix and me. I looked up at them directly, speaking at a measured pace. "I won't go back with you. Everyone here treats me well, and I love this job. Also, stop coming to find me, because just seeing you makes me sick." They were obviously stunned, their voices full of shock. "Ethan, how can you say such things?" I looked at them with disdain, my gaze unwavering. "Mr. Sterling, if roles were reversed and I deceived you like that, could you still speak to me so calmly? Since you prefer Phoenix, go home and enjoy your loving father-son relationship with him. Or do you insist on having me play the fool, watching your happy family of 3 to make yourselves feel good?" Having enjoyed my absolute obedience all these years since returning to the Sterling family, they were unprepared for my reasonable but aggressive confrontation. Their faces went from green to red to deathly pale. Not until the shop was closing did Dad finally speak hoarsely, deflated. "Ethan, we wronged you. You probably don't remember you once had a twin brother. But he died shortly after birth, so we transferred all our guilt about your brother onto Phoenix. Plus he's naturally sensitive and not our biological child." Faced with Dad's serious explanation, I just glanced at my phone and said indifferently, "Are you done? If there's nothing else, I'm going home." But I'd barely taken 2 steps when Mom grabbed me again. She said, "Ethan, don't you remember when you first came home, you said you'd never leave Mom again? Meeting her expectant gaze, I coldly pulled my hand free. But you're not worth it. Hearing my final words, Mom's pleading hand finally dropped. I thought with such harsh words, they'd finally give up. I didn't expect to see them again 2 weeks later. What do you want now? By their usual schedule, they should be taking Phoenix on their annual family world tour. Faced with my surprise and rejection, Mom just held my hand and cried. Ethan, we've given you 2 weeks to think. No matter what, you should have calmed down by now. Stop being stubborn and come home with us, okay? After saying this, not just Mom but Dad also looked at me expectantly. Just as I was about to shake off her hand, Phoenix spoke. Where my parents couldn't see, he rolled his eyes at me, then squeezed out a fake, sweet smile. Brother, Mom and Dad have been hiring bodyguards to protect you for these 2 weeks. Just come home with us. Stop making them worry. I looked at Phoenix coldly and suddenly smiled. Phoenix, do you think no one knows what you've done? I threw down a flash drive containing recordings of Phoenix orchestrating my delivery of his birthday cake, plus surveillance footage of his friend humiliating me at the mansion door. Chapter 8. 2 months later, late one night, I unexpectedly received a call from Mom using an unknown number. She got straight to the point. On your birthday, did you know from the start that they would abandon you to go find Phoenix? There was nothing I couldn't say about this, so I freely admitted. Isn't it better not to have any expectations of you? A long silence. Finally, I hung up impatiently. Not until Memorial Day did I learn from an old friend that Mom had gotten into an accident while drunk driving and was now in a vegetative state. But the Sterling family had money. Even though her chances of recovery were slim, Dad still had plenty of cash to throw at keeping her alive. However, after experiencing both his biological and adopted children cutting ties with him, plus his wife becoming a vegetable, Dad had reportedly aged 10 years overnight. Hearing this, I expressed sympathy. After my friend hung up, I went back to work. After all, other people's business, what does that have to do with me? I still have a beautiful future ahead.